One moment, existence simply ceased. Everything disintegrated. Buildings crumbled to dust. People fell one after another. A plague consumed the planet. At first, disbelief overshadowed everything. But soon, financial markets collapsed. Fear spread across the globe like wildfire. Reports circulated endlessly, each one confirming humanity's downfall. Wars erupted. Nations betrayed one another. Economies collapsed. Hunger devoured the masses. And in the midst of this deprivation, turmoil only grew worse. Even a single packet of ramen became worth millions. Crowds flooded the streets pleading, rioting, desperate. It was an apocalypse beyond comprehension. Yet this time, humanity was not the cause. Without warning, mythical beasts descended upon Earth. That moment marked the true end of mankind. Like a twisted fable, as soon as the monsters appeared, people began awakening strange abilities. They became superhuman. Digital alerts materialized, distributing resources to fight back. At first, it seemed like a familiar story. But here lay the difference. Despite their newfound powers, humans stood no chance. The beasts were nightmares made flesh. Superhuman abilities proved almost useless. Monsters slaughtered people as if they were nothing. In less than 72 hours, the world was nearly annihilated. 3 days into the apocalypse, the scene shifts. Among the ruins stands a single building, intact despite the devastation around it. A solitary structure amidst the wasteland, silently bearing witness to the chaos. Inside, a man, the protagonist, sits eating snacks. He reflects that since the world hasn't completely ended, he can still live somewhat normally. The taste of the food brings him a fleeting comfort, a small reminder of the ordinary life he once knew. Yet, he is painfully aware that he is alone in his apartment. Trapped within 100 square meters, the silence presses down on him like a weight. His family, his mother, father, grandfather, and grandmother are somewhere out there in the ruined world. He recalls the cost of this building, 200 million won, drawn from bank accounts and family belongings. That memory carries a heavy burden, the sacrifices made to secure this refuge. The only reason he is here now, alone, is due to a bureaucratic requirement. Someone needed to live in the apartment for 2 years to benefit from purchase taxes. What once seemed trivial now feels like a cruel twist of fate. Because of it, he ended up trapped inside as the world outside fell apart. To his frustration, his internet connection is barely functioning. That weak signal robs him of even the smallest connection to others. He exhales deeply, trying to calm himself until a strange sound breaks the silence. Startled, he looks toward the source. A creature is flying toward the building, screeching. Fear and curiosity twist inside him as it draws closer. Then, with sudden violence, the beast slams against his window. The sheer force knocks him down, though it never touches him. The impact rattles the entire structure, vibrations coursing through the floor. The monster strikes again, shaking the building. Heart racing, he braces for the worst, preparing to defend himself against an invasion. Just then, a system notification echoes coldly in his mind. Entry has been denied to the creature attempting to cross the boundary. The voice of the system is mechanical, unfeeling, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Thus, the ultimate shut-in system reveals itself, declaring that no one may enter without the owner's permission, its rules absolute. Relief washes over him. He remembers this condition is what has kept him alive. This barrier is his protection against the horrors outside. Yet as he tries to unlock the door, another realization crushes him. Not only is entry forbidden, exit is as well. The apartment is both his fortress and his prison. Anger surges through him. He kicks the door again and again, each blow echoing in the emptiness. But it is useless. He cannot break free. On the 3rd day of the world's collapse, he feels both grateful and burdened. The protective ability surrounding him has kept him safe, yet it has also confined him, trapping him within the walls of his apartment. Hours slip by as he sits before the glowing system window, its cold light the only companion in his isolation. The silence presses in, feeding his irritation, and he curses his own helplessness. He cannot act, cannot change anything. The weight of this powerlessness only grows heavier. A glance to the side reveals the grim truth: his supplies are dwindling fast, and the refrigerator, powerless since the previous day, now holds only spoiled food. The ticking clock of survival beats relentlessly in his mind. What little sustenance remains is food cooked in pans, quickly approaching its end. The urgency of his situation claws deeper into his chest. Then, a sudden sound pierces the silence: the sharp chime of a system notification. It is jarring, yet strangely hopeful. The window displays that he has slain a Kalakanan, level 23, granting him a large amount of experience and several new skills. His pulse quickens. Fixated, he studies the glowing letters, trying to unravel how such a thing occurred. Peering out the window, he sees the truth. The bird that once slammed against his glass now lies lifeless on the ground floor. Its corpse is being torn apart by goblins. Realization dawns: the creature's death, though not caused directly by him, has still granted him experience. It is a grim revelation, another reminder of the new laws governing this broken world. The system continues to chime, announcing the unlocking of a new skill and the acquisition of resources from the surroundings. These are now being calculated. Outside, the goblins shift uneasily, their behavior altered in ways he cannot fully understand. The chaos of their movements is yet another uncertainty he must contend with. At last, the system completes its calculation. 2.23 wands have been deposited into his wallet. The number stares back at him, surreal and confusing. The nature of this strange currency is a riddle he struggles to piece together. Suddenly, light floods his apartment. The power returns. For a moment, he is stunned, then joy overcomes him. In a world collapsing into madness, this small miracle feels almost divine. Every appliance hums back to life, and the declaration window informs him that the house itself has evolved to level 3. With a surge of experience, a new ability, dignity preservation, has also been unlocked. It is this ability that has restored his home's basic functions, along with the resources deposited in his wallet. Overwhelmed, he rushes to the refrigerator, grinning as its cool air brushes his face. He checks the sink, and water flows freely once again. At the stove, the burners flicker to life, steady and reliable. Collapsing to his knees, he weeps with joy. For the first time since the world began unraveling, things feel normal, as if life before the apocalypse has, for one fragile moment, returned. But the illusion soon breaks. Grabbing his phone, he checks for a signal, desperate for connection. Nothing. The device is dead to the outside world. His joy crumbles into bitter frustration. It is then that his eyes fall on something small glinting on the floor, a flash drive. Intrigued, he hurries to his computer and plugs it in. Files unfold before him, photographs of his mother holding him as a child, walking him to school, celebrating birthdays. His family's faces smile back at him from happier times, a flood of memories both sweet and painful. As he stares at those images, a thought takes root, unyielding, absolute. No matter the cost, he must find a way to bring his family back. The determination in his heart hardens further. Resolute, he rises and approaches the window, only to be interrupted by another sudden notification. The system, ever persistent, presents him with yet another twist in his journey. This time, it informs him that he now has access to a warehouse where he can purchase items at their original prices. Intrigued, he decides to explore this new development. As he investigates, he notices the acquired values becoming available and realizes that the confined wallet is directly tied to the resources he can use in the store. This discovery sparks a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this store could offer a way out, or at the very least, provide tools that might help him survive. Yet, as he contemplates his condition, he moves back to the window, staring into the world he still cannot reach. The view outside remains a constant reminder of his isolation, and his frustration deepens. Despite all the progress he has made, nothing has changed regarding the invisible prison that holds him. Even though his skills and levels have improved, the barrier remains immovable, unyielding, like a wall he cannot breach. Still, one fact is undeniable. Higher levels unlock stronger skills, and those skills might one day set him free. Fueled by this thought, his determination strengthens. To achieve it, he knows he must hunt monsters. But how? The question weighs heavily on him. The memory of his past struggles resurfaces, reminding him of how unlikely it is that fortune will repeat itself, like the time when a monster simply struck the window, fell, and died, granting him experience and rewards. He doubts such luck will ever happen again. Peering down through the window, his eyes catch sight of goblins roaming near the bottom of the building. For the first time, a real opportunity emerges. Excitement flickers within him as he tests an idea. He takes a bottle, wondering if the barrier will stop it from passing through. With a mix of nervousness and anticipation, he hurls it outward. To his relief, the barrier does not block the throw. The bottle sails freely into the open air. The realization fills him with new confidence. Anything he throws can be used in his hunt. With this in mind, he grabs a dumbbell. Its weight and solidity give him assurance it could serve as a deadly weapon. Searching for a target, he spots a group of goblins scavenging parts from the monster he had previously slain. As some of them begin to carry pieces away, he shouts desperately for them not to leave, his voice cutting through the silence. Driven by urgency, he launches the dumbbell out the window. It crashes downward, striking one of the goblins with precision and killing it instantly. The others freeze, stunned and confused, unable to process what just happened. Yet the young man feels a surge of fear. If the goblins retaliate, he is vulnerable. His heart pounds, adrenaline surging through his veins. With only one dumbbell remaining, he begins to consider other options. What else could serve as a weapon? He contemplates heavier items, perhaps even the television or computer, anything strong enough to kill when thrown. But the goblins' sudden screams from below interrupt his thoughts. Their enraged howls rise in unison, promising retaliation. He watches, unsettled, as they advance toward the building. Strangely, this fills him with cautious optimism. Their proximity might actually be an advantage. Closer targets are easier to hit. Determined to seize this opportunity, he turns back to the store system and activates its listing function. Grabbing his last dumbbell, he registers it within the store to test the feature. As the system scans the object, a notification appears, displaying the dumbbell's attributes along with its registered price for acquisition. Surprised, he compares the listed price with what he had previously paid when purchasing the item online. To his relief, the registered price matches the rates of ordinary stores from before the end of the world. The discovery reassures him. Once the item is scanned, the system suggests purchasing it. He confirms the order, and immediately, the dumbbell materializes in front of him. Overjoyed, he shouts in triumph, satisfied that everything worked as expected. His plan is falling into place. The next phase of his experiment begins, testing the purchased dumbbells as weapons. He hurls the first one through the window, aiming at the goblins outside. The throw lands perfectly, striking a target and killing it on impact. The rush of victory fuels his confidence, and the system quickly confirms his success with an experience notification. As the goblin group stares at their fallen comrade, more dumbbells rain from above, catching them off guard. Some goblins, now aware of the danger, scramble to escape. Irritated by their resistance, he shifts strategies, unwilling to waste precious time. He orders 3 dumbbells at once and swiftly launches them, securing more kills and earning additional experience points. His satisfaction grows, only to be interrupted by another system notification. To his surprise, the store now functions as a warehouse, granting him the ability to store items for future use. He tests the new feature by placing 1 dumbbell into storage. The success of the function fills him with excitement. New tactical possibilities open before him. He can summon stored items anywhere he desires. A brilliant idea sparks. He will drop dumbbells directly above the goblins. With precision and efficiency in mind, He opens his warehouse, releasing a barrage of dumbbells from the sky. The weapons crash down mercilessly, crushing enemies and flooding the system with kill notifications and experience points. After completing the hunt, he organizes his growing warehouse. Among the stored items are food and drinks, essentials for maintaining his health and ensuring his survival. Additionally, he profits by selling the dumbbells used in combat, further boosting his resources. Yet, his excitement fades when he notices a sudden deduction of 1 unit of 1. Puzzled, he wonders if the ability known as preservation of dignity is responsible. Determined to find the cause, he inspects his apartment carefully. Electricity, gas, and water are all inactive. The only thing running is his refrigerator. Frustration gnaws at him. Why is that appliance consuming his precious resources? The thought sparks bitter memories of his goblin hunts. Many had fled, leaving him with only 2 additional kills. The effort had yielded so little. His mind churns with doubt. Was it truly worth it? Then his thoughts shift to the flying monsters. He recalls the formidable Calican, a creature that had once tested his strength and promised immense rewards if he could bring it down. Since that encounter, none had appeared near his apartment. As he wonders whether he should try new hunting methods, his hopes silently cling to the possibility of another Calican. Almost miraculously, his eyes catch sight of one soaring across the sky. His pulse quickens with a mix of fear and exhilaration. This felt like the chance he had been waiting for. Spotting the monster's presence, he wasted no time, silently thanking God for not abandoning him in this desperate hour. Using a metal frame and a mirror fastened to it, he fashioned a crude yet effective device to draw the Calicanon's attention. With steady focus, he angled the beam of light toward the beast's eyes, striking its vision with precision. The tactic succeeded. The monster fixed on him instantly, surging forward with violent speed. Its furious charge slammed against the barrier, sending a gust of wind that knocked him to the ground. The sudden force echoed memories of the last brutal attack. Yet, as he pushed himself up, he couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. The plan had worked. He had lured the creature successfully. If he could bring it down, the rewards might be enough to push him to another level. But the Calicanon was relentless. With a thunderous beat of its wings, it unleashed another wave of force that struck him head-on. Straining to hold his ground, he refused to falter, even as his body trembled under the assault. When the gust faded, he scanned the air, only to realize the monster had vanished. His pulse quickened. Then, like a predator toying with prey, the creature revealed itself once more, not by attacking him directly, but by battering the building's structure, probing for an opening to strike. At that moment, the system blared an alert. An unauthorized entity was attempting to breach the zone. The thought sent his mind racing. Could the Calicanon really shatter the ability barrier? He knew he had no time to hesitate. Opening his storage, he combed through his supplies with urgency. Each second stretched unbearably long as he weighed his options. Then a crucial memory surfaced. If the spoils weren't close enough when a monster died, the system wouldn't register them. He remembered too well the frustration when goblins had dragged away the corpses of their kin, robbing him of the rewards. That mistake could not be repeated. Determined, he resolved to end this battle in one decisive strike. His eyes narrowed on an unusual option: canola oil. It was unconventional, but an idea sparked a dangerous, cunning plan. Without delay, he withdrew 10 bottles, calculating every step with care. The system delivered them instantly, and he sprinted to the kitchen, urgency driving his movements. He seized a pan, poured in the oil, and set it to heat. As the liquid simmered, he tied a cloth to a stick, preparing an improvised weapon. When the oil reached the right temperature, he drenched the cloth and stored the pan, ensuring it remained listed in his inventory. Precision was everything. The system confirmed the item's listing, and he wasted no time finding a lighter. With one flick, fire consumed the oil-soaked cloth, transforming the stick into a blazing torch. His weapon was ready. At the window, he watched intently, waiting for the exact moment. The Calicanon circled, wings slicing the air. His heart pounded as he invoked the oil, unleashing it upon the beast. The creature's wings faltered as the hot oil coated them, and in the instant it began to descend, he struck. Flames erupted across the monster's body, devouring it in a furious blaze. The sight filled him with grim satisfaction. His strategy had worked flawlessly. The Calicanon's screeches faded into silence as fire consumed it, until finally it lay dead. The system's response was immediate. Notifications surged through his vision level advancement, a new skill unlocked, and spoils calculated. His balance swelled by an astonishing 9,347,487, a figure so large it nearly left him breathless. He hadn't expected such a fortune. 10 million from a single kill was beyond imagination. But the windfall wasn't the only change. His new skill, territory expansion, took hold, and his body began to shift. A burning sensation spread through him as his eyes turned black, his vision warping into something unfamiliar, something extraordinary. It was as though he were peering through an X-ray lens, the entire building unraveling before his gaze, its structure laid bare. And then he saw them. 4 survivors, huddled together in one of the rooms. The revelation stunned him. He had never imagined there were others still alive, hiding so close all along. This revelation opens a path filled with both possibilities and uncertainties, sending his mind racing with countless potential outcomes. Struggling to comprehend the situation, the young man, his eyes still blackened, feels himself overcome with despair, confusion, and doubt. Suddenly, his vision shifts. In a strange and unfamiliar way, he becomes aware of people inside the building. The realization sparks a single burning question. What is happening? How could there be other survivors here? And what exactly is this strange ability? As the effects of the ability fade and he steadies himself from the strain it caused, the system issues several notifications. It informs him that the people he has sensed meet the requirements to become citizens and presents him with a proposal to accept them under his jurisdiction. The system introduces them: Cho Hyung-jun, known as Chubby, a 30-year-old husband; his wife, Park Haewon, also 30, and their 2 daughters, Cho Naeun and Shio Yan, aged 3 and 6. Confused, the protagonist turns to the system with a pressing question. What happens if these individuals are not accepted as citizens? The answer comes swiftly and mercilessly. Those rejected will be expelled from the residential zone, left outside to face certain death at the hands of the monstrous threats beyond. Faced with this grim truth, the young man makes the only choice his conscience allows. With a good heart and no hesitation, he accepts them as citizens of his zone. The system confirms the addition of each member one by one. Intrigued, he begins to speculate, could managing citizens unlock new abilities? Exploring the system further, he finds confirmation. The ability that allowed him to detect their presence is called Ultimate Eyes. At its first level, it guarantees that nothing within his home escapes detection. Digging deeper, he discovers a new section within the system: Citizen Management. Inside, a list displays the names of each citizen, along with their current levels and trust scores. At the bottom, a population counter reads 4 out of 600. The number is startling. 600 potential citizens is far more than he expected. Curious, he inspects Chubby's details. No awakened skills. XP distribution at 0%. Money distribution at 0%. The system provides options to assign him a mission or remove him entirely from the citizen list. The inclusion of XP and money sharing raises another question. Could this system be designed to share gains with the house's host as well? Could this be another path to growing stronger? He tests the mission assignment feature. A form appears requesting details, description, time limit, rewards, and penalties. Surprised at its thoroughness, he crafts a mission titled Goblin Hunt, granting Chubby 168 hours to complete it. The reward: a small amount of XP, no penalty for failure. Yet as he reviews the assignment, He considers harsher alternatives, balancing the danger of failure against meaningful rewards, even to the point of elimination as punishment. Ultimately, he cancels the mission. The thought of arbitrarily deciding a citizen's life feels too cruel, too unjust. Pensive, he wonders how best to use this ability. Then a thought strikes him. Why not activate Ultimate Eyes again? He directs his vision toward the room where the new citizens reside. Through the ability, he observes the family gathered around a table, their expressions clouded with despair. The wife breaks the silence, her voice heavy with worry, asking what they can do now. Her concern becomes clear as Chubby reveals his intention. He plans to leave the safety of the zone to search for basic supplies, especially water. Though his heart longs to remain with his wife and daughters, necessity drives him. Without supplies, their survival is impossible. His wife protests in anguish, begging him not to go, reminding him of the unimaginable danger outside. Chubby listens, but his face shows grim determination. Their circumstances leave little room for choice. He wonders aloud if there might be anywhere close that still holds drinkable water. Even if there isn't, he insists, he must at least try the nearby convenience stores, mentioning a particularly large one that surely has something left to scavenge. Before the conversation deepens, one of his daughters suddenly pipes up, "I'm thirsty." The mother, realizing how dangerous those words are, quickly tries to hush her. But the damage is already done. For Chubby, her words become the final push he needs to make his decision. Confidently, Chubby takes his wife's hand, asking if she trusts him, assuring her that he will return safely with something to support their family. Though sorrowful, she finds herself without any further arguments to stop him. Back in his room, the protagonist ends the ability and quietly reflects on their situation. Resolute, he decides to open the store and check the list of items. He quickly realizes that the maximum storage capacity is limited and wishes it could be expanded. While navigating the skill window, he notices the detail storage at level 1, dignity preservation at level 1, and the store itself also at level 1. Seeing that these skills had levels brings him relief. If they can be raised, their capacity and effectiveness must also improve. With upgrade points available, he immediately raises the store's level to 2, expanding its capacity by 20 items and unlocking a 10% discount on all used items. Energized by this progress, he considers how best to use his remaining points. Carefully weighing his options, he debates whether to invest further in the shop or in dignity preservation, knowing these skills may help when dealing with other survivors. In the end, he raises the shop to level 3, granting a maximum storage of 40 items and unlocking a new function, item recovery, which allows him to restore old items into usable ones. It was a wise choice. Without hesitation, he revisits the shop and acquires water and fruit. With the last of his points, he invests in dignity preservation. Once upgraded to level 2, it grants him the ability to register vassals, though the term leaves him puzzled. The scene shifts to the living room, where Chubby prepares for his departure. His wife and daughters, distressed, silently plead for him to stay. He turns to them with warmth and resolve, promising to return and asking the children to protect their home until then. When the children ask if he is truly leaving, he answers lightly, saying he only intends to fetch food and water, reminding them to listen to their mother in his absence. Yet, his eldest daughter knows better. Her tears and trembling voice reveal her fear of the monsters outside. Her memories surge back to the first day of the apocalypse. She recalls how she and her siblings had been playing in the park when monstrous creatures appeared. Panic took hold as the children fled, their father grabbing the youngest in one arm while their mother carried the other, all of them running desperately with goblins in pursuit. Now, in the present, Chubby steals his resolve. His wife tries to soothe the children, though her words only make his decision heavier. Deep down, he wonders if this might be the last time he sees his daughters. Summoning all his strength, he prepares himself for what's to come. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, startling everyone. The tension rises instantly. Could it be monsters outside? Heart pounding, Chubby moves to the door and listens. A voice calls out, asking to be let in. He freezes, unsure whether it's truly human or a cunning creature in disguise. The voice falls silent, and just as he considers whether it has left, the door opens. He rushes back to shield his family, holding them close as screams erupt. Pleading for mercy for his wife and daughters, he braces himself only for the tension to break as a calm voice politely asks for permission to enter. The family turns, astonished, to see a man standing there with a bag of supplies. "Who are you?" they ask. The man introduces himself as Kim Jae-hyun, though he says he will go by Jun. He explains that he lives nearby, and his sudden appearance shifts the atmosphere entirely, transforming fear into a fragile hope. Handing over the bag of supplies, Jun explained that it contained water and fruits, asking for a small conversation once everyone had settled. The father, both relieved and wary, looked at his family, noticing the concern in their eyes. Still, recognizing Jun's sincerity, he declared there was no reason to refuse and invited him inside. Once seated, the children observed Jun with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Jun wondered if his sudden appearance had startled them, but his attention was soon drawn to the heavy curtains covering the windows. He found the choice smart, as it greatly reduced the risk of monster attacks. Yet, the darkness inside required light. To remedy this, Jun quietly activated his skill, restoring electricity to the apartment. While he arranged the items in his bag, the family remained stunned, astonished that power had returned after so long. To ease their tension, Jun offered water to everyone, beginning with the children. Chubby gratefully accepted and distributed the bottles to his daughters, who drank eagerly. Shan, the youngest, gulped hers so quickly that she began to choke, startling her mother. Jun immediately offered her a tangerine, which she accepted with hesitation. Her mother quickly took it, peeled it, and handed a piece back to Shan. The little girl devoured it happily, her face glowing with joy. When asked if she liked it, Shan nodded enthusiastically. Her elder sister then requested a piece as well, sharing in the delight. At that moment, Jun's system notified him that the family's trust in him had grown. Shia's trust had reached 50 points, with loyalty surpassing 30, meeting the threshold for her to qualify as a vassal. Now considered level 2, Shia had 57 trust points, but no skills, money, or experience allocated, yet new mission options were available for her. Jun reflected on this carefully. Though the requirements had been met, she was still far too young to be assigned missions. He also reminded himself that the number of vassals was limited, and he needed to be selective in choosing them. His gaze shifted toward Chubby, whose trust had reached 31, realizing it would need to be raised further. His thoughts were interrupted when Chubby asked if there was any way to repay him for his generosity. Jun invited him to talk privately in the hallway. Surprised but willing, Chubby agreed, and they both stepped outside. There, Jun asked whether Chubby had received an invitation to become a citizen. Checking his notifications, Chubby confirmed that his whole family had received it about 30 minutes earlier. Jun pressed further, asking if anything unusual had happened at that time. Chubby recalled that they had suddenly become immobilized for a short period. Jun nodded, understanding, and assured him that life would soon return to normal. Stunned, Chubby asked if that was truly possible. Jun responded confidently, saying that it was thanks to his ability. Chubby considered this for a moment, then admitted that he knew nothing came without a cost. He asked directly what would be required of him. Jun explained that missions carried great risk and that Chubby could even lose his life. He asked if Chubby was truly willing to accept this path. After reflecting briefly, Chubby declared with resolve that he was ready to do whatever was necessary. He admitted he had already been preparing himself to venture outside in search of food and water, even before Jun's arrival, and that he had accepted the risk of death. Abruptly, Jun asked about the golf club Chubby carried, curious about its value. Caught off guard, Chubby answered that it had cost around 400,000 to 500,000 won. Jun considered it expensive, making a mental note of the importance of saving money for future needs. Still puzzled by the question, Chubby asked why it mattered. Jun dismissed the concern, saying it was nothing, before redirecting the conversation. He asked Chubby if he remembered the day the monsters first appeared. Chubby recalled vividly it had been a weekend, and the creatures had chased them mercilessly, a terrifying memory that lingered. Jun considered aloud that those who remained indoors might have survived. He reflected on goblins, noting that while they weren't particularly strong and had poor conditions compared to an adult man, their strength came from numbers and relentless group attacks. Humans, however, had their own advantage, the ability to unite and form armies. And building such an army, Jun resolved, was exactly what he would begin from this moment forward. Starting with Chubby, he becomes the first member to join Jun in the search for other survivors. Later, back in his apartment, Jun examines the system interface, which notifies him that his trust level with Chubby has increased. Checking his citizen list, he sees that Chubby's trust level has risen to 40 points. As he reflects on the concept of having an entire family as registered citizens, Jun briefly wonders if his own family might one day appear on that list as the system continues to evolve. His thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a sharp goblin screech. Alarmed, Jun rushes to the window to investigate. Looking down, he is surprised to see a group of survivors locked in combat against a large horde of goblins. Carefully observing the battle, he begins to consider how he might assist them and how difficult such a task could be. Among the survivors, one man wields a baseball and prepares a powerful throw. The ball hurtles through the air, striking a goblin square in the face and knocking it out instantly. The impact is so forceful that the creature's skull bursts into a spray of blood-like fluid. From above, Jun watches in astonishment at the sheer destructive power of the blow. At the same time, a young woman in the group looses 2 arrows from her bow. Both strike their marks with deadly precision, piercing the chests of 2 goblins. Another man rushes in with a baseball bat, targeting the goblin standing between the fallen creatures. Leaping forward, he smashes it into the ground, reducing its body into little more than a green pulp. Overwhelmed by the group's strength, the remaining goblins retreat in panic. Even after the skirmish, the archer remains alert. Spotting something unusual moving on the ground, she quickly raises her bow and aims. Only then does she realize it's a food package, leaving her momentarily confused. From the top floor of the building, Jun shouts and waves his arms, trying desperately to capture the group's attention. Just then, someone knocks on his apartment door. Looking through the peephole, Jun sees Chubby standing there, holding a box. He opens the door and invites Chubby in, but the system's protective barrier prevents entry, declaring him not qualified. Puzzled, Chubby asks what that means. Jun wonders if the system might reject anyone attempting to enter his apartment. He also considers whether registering Chubby as a vassal could resolve the issue, but decides to set the matter aside for now. Instead, he focuses on the box, which contains items that could serve as weapons. Placing the box on the floor, Jun opens it and finds a toolbox along with several knives. Activating the system's store, he orders 5 bottles of water and 5 packs of instant noodles. As the order appears before him, Chubby watches in stunned disbelief, unable to comprehend how such a thing is even possible. Without dwelling on the matter, Jun carefully packs the items into the box and hands it back, instructing Chubby to deliver it to the building's entrance on the 1st floor. Concerned, Chubby asks if the task might be too dangerous. Jun reassures him, explaining that from what he's observed, goblins are more active during the day. He also reflects inwardly that the survivors outside could be valuable additions to his citizen list, and the food box may be the key to earning their trust and loyalty. Speaking with confidence, Jun emphasizes to Chubby the importance of the delivery. Chubby, still doubtful, asks if the plan is really as simple as leaving the box on the 1st floor and returning. Jun confirms, assuring him that it is indeed that straightforward. Relieved, Chubby agrees, bids Jun farewell, and leaves with the box. Jun thanks him sincerely before turning back to the system. Opening the interface, he decides that Chubby's trust must be rewarded generously. A mission window appears, describing the task: deliver the box containing water and instant noodles to the first floor and return within 24 hours. The mission offers a small amount of experience points as a reward, with no penalties in case of failure. Shui received the notification, realizing that completing the mission would grant him experience points. He wondered aloud if this was connected to some sort of leveling system, similar to a game. Jun confirmed his suspicion, explaining that Shui's current level was 9. If Shui managed to level up, he would earn rewards. With a firm tone, Jun told him that he was relying on him. Understanding his role, Shui quickly set out. Carrying the supply box in one hand and gripping a golf club for protection in the other, he cautiously descended the stairs toward the first floor. His mission was simple: place the box on the ground. Yet just as he reached the bottom, movement in the shadows caught his eye. The sudden shift startled him. Fear spread through his chest as he suspected goblins lurking nearby, the darkness only amplifying his alarm. Panic overtook him. He turned to flee, but in his frantic rush, he twisted his ankle and stumbled to the ground. The supply box crashed open, scattering items across the floor. Lying helpless on the ground, Shui tried to gather himself as the creature's presence drew closer. Trembling, he shielded his head with his arms and squeezed his eyes shut. Then, a voice cut through the tension. Opening his eyes, Shui was stunned to see a group of humans approaching, asking if he was all right. Meanwhile, back in Jun's apartment, the system triggered an alert about an unauthorized attempt to enter the building. Jun's instincts sharpened as he considered the possibility of an invasion. Activating his ultimate eyes ability, he scanned the area and spotted Chubby leading a group of strangers. They were conversing among themselves, speculating about how someone inside could have thrown a packet of noodles. Their discovery sparked hope. They wondered if the building contained a valuable stockpile of food, something they desperately needed in their exhausted state. Deactivating his ability, Jun recognized each of them clearly. The system then notified him that the newcomers met the requirements to become citizens and prompted him to add them. Jun hesitated. He weighed the risks of accepting outsiders, but another worry crept in: what if they refused his offer? The uncertainty gnawed at him. His thoughts were interrupted by Chubby's voice calling out, attempting to communicate. Almost immediately, the system notified Jun that this citizen had an ongoing mission and suggested modifying it. Jun agreed, and the mission was updated to include delivering meals to the newcomers. Chubby and Jun quickly exchanged updates. Jun instructed him to gift the newcomers food immediately, as he had a plan in mind. Chubby complied and moved to carry it out. When the group reached the edge of Jun's safe zone, they were forced to wait as Chubby explained the situation. Reporting back, Chubby described the group's condition in detail. Jun listened carefully, pleased with the report. He accessed the system and sent official invitations to Harimgan, Kongdaku, Kim Gaeng, Yuhirin, Kim Giant, and Moon Byangho. Once permission was granted, the newcomers stepped into the safe zone. A system announcement followed. The citizen count had risen to 10, triggering a 10% bonus to both experience and monetary rewards. Relief and gratitude washed over Jun, knowing that their presence would be invaluable for future monster hunts. The system displayed the trust scores and levels of the new members. Dong Trust 19, level 23. Kong Trust 28, level 13. Young Trust 17, level 17. Yu Trust 30, level 10. Kim Trust 15, level 15. Moon Trust 11, level 10. Jun's eyes lingered on Dong's stats. At level 23, Dong was stronger than Calican, a foe Jun had only recently defeated. A particular ability stood out: Baseball Throw, ranked at D. This skill consumed stamina but tripled the power of thrown objects such as baseballs. Jun immediately recognized Dong as a metahuman, capable of turning simple baseballs into deadly weapons. He saw him as a potential cornerstone in future hunts. Determined, Jun resolved to earn Dong's trust over time. He instructed the system to set experience sharing within the group to 70%, which was promptly confirmed. Missions were then assigned to help the newcomers gain experience and resources. Jun likened this strategy to an auto-hunting system from games. But beyond strategy and logistics, Jun reminded himself that building trust and relationships was equally vital. If he wanted to eventually reunite with his family, he needed a foundation of loyalty and companionship within his group. Unexpectedly, the system notified him that the trust scores of Dong Yang and Yu had increased. Surprised, Jun couldn't help but wonder what had caused the sudden shift. Meanwhile, in Chubby's apartment, he welcomed the newcomers inside. Gaeyang, the archer, expressed her gratitude. Chubby's wife, still bewildered by the situation, asked what was happening. Chubby reassured her, telling her to stay calm and promising to explain everything soon. He then asked her to prepare food for everyone. Surprised, she admitted that nothing had been prepared and everything would need to be made from scratch. Chubby urged her to go ahead, explaining that it was part of Jun's plan. After a moment of hesitation, she agreed and began cooking. Han, who had earlier been called Dong, expressed his gratitude and turned his attention to Chubby, asking about Jun. Chubby confessed that he knew very little about him, only that Jun was their neighbor. Curious, Han listened as Chubby described Jun as someone mysterious yet remarkably resourceful, someone who always managed to provide them with what they needed. From this, Han concluded that Jun must be a metahuman, someone gifted with extraordinary abilities that allowed him to solve problems as basic yet vital as food and water. Determined to make a good impression, Han believed Jun's abilities bordered on the miraculous. Chubby then informed the group that they could take a shower while waiting for the food. The suggestion shocked the women, who couldn't believe such a luxury was possible in their current situation. Han, however, observed that with the building's functioning resources, it wasn't entirely impossible. Chubby explained further, mentioning hot showers were available, which left the women speechless. He added that there were even 2 showers, allowing them to be used simultaneously. Another group member, who bore a striking resemblance to Toji, joked about challenging Jun to a fight. Han immediately shut down the idea, calling it ridiculous and stressing how important it was to impress Jun instead. The group quickly agreed that securing food was the real priority and opportunity they couldn't afford to waste. Their focus shifted to Moon, who seemed lost in thought. Han gently placed a hand on his shoulder, pulling him back from his daze. When Han apologized, worried he had upset him, Moon reassured him that nothing was wrong. Han began to express regret over a past decision, but Moon interrupted, insisting there was no need for remorse since every choice had been made willingly. The conversation then shifted toward obtaining supplies for Moon's grandmother. Yet, deep down, Moon feared it might already be too late for her. As Han continued outlining the plan, the sound of the door opening startled everyone. Han instinctively grabbed a baseball, ready to defend, but quickly realized it was Jun. The moment Jun entered, his presence radiated warmth and reassurance, filling the group with renewed hope. To them, he felt like the key to pulling them out of despair. Minutes later, they found themselves sitting silently around the table, the atmosphere tense until Haewon Chubby's wife finally spoke. She apologized for the cramped space. Han, aiming to be polite, replied that it was no trouble since they had arrived uninvited. Just then, Chubby returned and announced that the food was ready. One by one, he placed bowls of rice before them. The group could hardly believe they were about to enjoy a proper meal, and several of them wondered when they had last eaten something like this. Haewon, feeling self-conscious, admitted she wasn't sure if her cooking would suit their tastes. Yet, what appeared simple to her left the group's archers astonished. As she gazed at the spread before her, one of the archers couldn't contain her admiration, declaring the food incredible and confessing it had been ages since she had eaten something so delicious. Haewon, brushing off the compliments shyly, explained that it was all thanks to the ingredients Jun had provided. Without his help, she admitted, she would have only been able to serve plain rice and tangerines. Quietly, Jun noticed that Haewon's trust in him had reached 50. He smiled softly, reminded of his mother, who used to beam with joy whenever guests praised her cooking. But then, to his surprise, he realized Haewon's trust in him had surpassed even his own expectations. Soon, everyone began eating, offering Haewon heartfelt thanks for the meal. She and Chubby watched as their guests devoured the food hungrily, like people who hadn't eaten properly in a long time. One of the archers couldn't stop praising the egg roll, while another remarked that the dish seemed Japanese in style. Haewon smiled warmly, agreeing and encouraging her to eat as much as she wanted. At that moment, Haewon's youngest daughter tugged at her attention, saying she wanted to eat the egg rolls as well. Haewon gently explained that she would make more for her once the guests had left. The little girl looked disappointed. Noticing this, the archer kindly asked Haewon's daughter if she wanted to share her portion of egg rolls. The child's face lit up with joy, her excitement filling the room as she quickly ran over and climbed onto the archer's lap. Her happiness was unmistakable. The archer smiled warmly, delighted by the girl's enthusiasm. With gentle care, she lifted a piece of egg roll and softly asked Seo to open her mouth. As the archer fed her, Seo beamed with joy, her radiant smile brightening the moment. Seo Jun then suggested that Fatty and Haewon join them, assuring them there was plenty of food for everyone. The two exchanged a hesitant glance, but soon smiled and agreed, happy to be part of the gathering. As they shared the meal, the room echoed with laughter and cheerful conversation. For a brief moment, Seo Jun allowed himself to simply observe the warmth of the scene. The lively noise reminded him of how long it had been since he had experienced something like this. His thoughts drifted to memories of his mother and the care she had shown him. A soft smile touched his lips as he silently wished for his family's safety and well-being. Eventually, the meal ended, leaving behind only empty dishes. Haewon's youngest daughter, now tired, said she wanted to rest. With tender care, Haewon lifted her into his arms and asked his eldest daughter to follow and help with bedtime. The two quietly left the table. Moments later, Seo Jun shifted his focus back to the matter at hand. Turning to the guests, he questioned why they had been unable to reach the grandmother's house, despite its close proximity. Han's expression turned serious as he explained it was because of the goblins. Seo Jun raised an eyebrow, skeptical, recalling his own struggles with goblins in the past. Han nodded firmly, confirming it was true. He elaborated that the creatures had discovered an underground parking lot and turned it into their base. Intrigued, Seo Jun asked if they knew how many goblins were hiding there. Han's face grew grim as he admitted there were thousands. Seo Jun paused, carefully considering the situation. He realized his abilities were only effective from ground level to level 30, meaning they would be less useful underground. Suddenly, it all made sense. This was how the goblins had infiltrated the area. Han went on, explaining that the underground parking lot was directly connected to the entrance of the apartment building they needed to reach. The goblins had fortified it as their stronghold and rarely ventured outside. Recalling the nearby side roads, Seo Jun asked why they hadn't used those as an alternative route. Han admitted that their original plan had been to escape that way, but they had encountered something far worse than goblins. Curious, Seo Jun pressed him. Han's eyes darkened as he described a massive shadow resembling a bear. He explained that they had managed to flee the apartment building only because the creature had been fighting the goblins, giving them a chance to escape. Thinking it over, Seo Jun asked for more details on the creature. Han hesitated, admitting he wasn't sure it was truly a bear. The darkness had obscured his view. Seo Jun, resolute, stated that eventually they would need to face both the goblins and this mysterious beast. Han agreed reluctantly, lowering his head as he acknowledged their group's limitations. They simply weren't prepared to face both threats at once. Seo Jun, sensing more, asked what limitations he meant. The archer explained that she and Han relied on items like arrows and baseballs for combat, but their supplies were running low and couldn't easily be replenished. Despite this, Han remained composed. He offered to find a solution and asked to inspect their current weapons, the arrow and the baseball. The archer handed them over without hesitation. The system immediately prompted Seo Jun, asking if he wished to list the new items. He confirmed, and moments later the system displayed the cost to replicate them. When asked if he was certain, Seo Jun confirmed once more. He then glanced around the table and asked if everyone would be able to use the archer's weapon. The group nodded in silence, understanding that, for now, only one weapon was available. Seo Jun took their silence as agreement. Turning back to the system, he requested 5 sets of archer weapons along with arrows. In an instant, the newly crafted items appeared on the table before him. He addressed the group firmly, encouraging anyone unfamiliar with weapons to take this chance to learn. "These will be your primary weapons from now on," he declared with authority. As the items materialized, the system quietly notified Seo Jun that several members of Han's group had grown to trust him more. Moon, however, was captivated by the sight of the weapons. He marveled at Seo Jun's resourcefulness, a realization dawning on him. Perhaps with Seo Jun leading them, he truly had a chance to save his grandmother. The system confirmed Moon's growing trust, marking a significant increase. Han finally broke the silence, noting that with Seo Jun's support, their hunting speed would increase dramatically. Another girl added that his help would also make things safer, sparing them from the risk of gathering arrows themselves. Seo Jun then gathered their attention once more. Before they could advance, he explained they needed to reduce the goblin population in the area. Han agreed, then asked when they would begin the hunt. "Tomorrow," Seo Jun replied without hesitation. Han hesitated, questioning the urgency, but Seo Jun explained that the sooner they acted, the greater their chances of success. Reluctantly, Han nodded, though uncertainty still clouded his expression. Seo Jun then turned to Moon and promised, "Tomorrow, we're going to rescue your grandmother." Moon's face lit up with hope and excitement at the thought. Still uneasy, Han raised concerns about the many obstacles they would face. Seo Jun answered with a confident smile and revealed his plan. They would use bait to lure the goblins out.